Hey guys, what's up? It is week 58. Let me do a little quick correction. One of the videos I said something about a guy dying for real on Spartacus. It was Ben-Hur. I got him mixed up for some reason. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but regardless, that was a mess up. I have about 5 reviews for you here and an update, so let's hop into it. The first one I will be reviewing is from what is it, Robert Downey Sr. This is Greaser's Palace from Scorpion Films. I had never seen this movie. The only time I had ever heard about it was when the DVD was released, and I didn't look into it too much. And when Pure Cinema Podcast talked about this one, this one's from 1972. This is a weirdo Western movie. If you want to check out a written review I wrote for it, go to the Screaming Toilet page. It's on there. But this is a weird movie. This is a wild one, and which is funny. I just been talking about Jodorowsky a lot, and in the special features, the director, it's an old interview, he's talking about the movie, and he mentions that somebody said that this would be like a great double feature with Jodorowsky's El Topo. And not as violent, but definitely as weird and surreal as El Topo. This is definitely a Jesus-style story. This guy in a zoot suit parachutes into this weird western town run by Seaweed Greaser, who basically predicts about how good of a day he's going to have by how his bowel movement was in the morning. He runs this gang in the town. Everybody's very strange. There's some musical numbers in here. The Seaweed Greaser seems to love music and basses. People want to try out for him and whatnot. And the movie opens up, in the very opening, he kills his own son. And he does it with the demeanor of like taking out the garbage. Like he does this all the time, it seems like. He has no real emotion towards his son except anger. This Jesse, who appears to be some sort of, Jesus character, of course. He revives him. If you feel, you heal. If you feel, you heal. So he brings him back to life. And this movie is one of these deals where the humor comes from like wearing out its welcome, but it gets funnier because they keep doing it. It's just a super bizarre movie with a lot of strange characters, and there is some strange violence in here as well. And I'm not necessarily sure how it means. And with the interview with the director, they mention that. They're talking about it, and they say, is this supposed to be an allegory for this? He's like, we just wanted to do this basic plot of a Jesus story and make it really weird and different, and we had fun with it. You'll notice Don Kaffa from Return of the Dead is in this movie, which is crazy, and some other familiar faces. A lot of like people that look familiar, but you're not necessarily sure where they're coming from. One of the weirdest, like I said, the musical numbers, and they're actually pretty good, and one of them ends in stigmata, which is insane. But it's just, it's enjoyable, it's well shot, it's well made, it's very zany and weird and one of a kind. You have to really see it to begin to understand what this kind of movie is. It has its violent moments, it has its very funny moments, it has its musical numbers, it has its absurd moments. There's lots of like reoccurring gags where this guy is this your card? Is this your card? He does a card trick and it goes on and on and on. But it's really funny, and like it's one of these movies that flirts with that line of absurdity and surrealism all the time, but also violence and comedy. It's just weird and has to be seen to be believed. It looks really good. It sounds pretty good as well. Musical numbers come out really well in there. And it's just a strange, bizarre movie that I think is well worth checking out, especially if you like kind of the weird, strange Westerns. I don't think I've seen anything quite like this. Different from El Topo, but maybe in the same, I wouldn't say ballpark, but in the same sport as far as Westerns are concerned. That's Greaser's Palace. There is an interview with the director, which is enjoyable to see, and some trailer reels on there. That's from Scorpion. It should be out already, actually.
What is it?
What is what?
What do you want here?
I'm hungry.
Come in here. Petunia! 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 Come, Grub. Everybody's famished.
I have vanilla grits, and get the fuck out of here if you know what's good for you.
Okay, the next one here needs no introduction from anybody, but this is the new release from Arrow Films. This is The Last House on the Left. This is the deluxe edition here. Yeah, this bad boy comes with 3 cuts of the movies. All the 2 commentaries ported over from the old MGM releases. A new commentary with the guy from Supporting Characters podcast, which is really cool. Bill Ackerman, I believe his name is. And some new interviews with Mark Schaefer, I believe his name is, Sheffer, who plays Junior Stillo in the movie, and of course all the old stuff ported over. And there's, like I said, there's a couple new things on here. Roy Frumkes is in here, who knew Wes Craven, made an uncompleted movie with him. So there's tons of stuff on this disc. Last House looks pretty damn good. I mean, this movie never looked good. If you guys know the story of Last House on the Left, it was Wes Craven's debut directed movie. He was 30 years old when he directed it. He had a late start in making movies, and Wes Craven came from an interesting background, and he always took a cerebral approach to his movies. And I always felt that his premises and his ideas and his academic stance and his approach to movies was much better than his actual directing skill. But Last House on the Left is, again, something like lightning in a bottle. It's very unique. It's very important for American genre horror movies and revenge films and horror, and drive-in movies at that time. Super important. And it really started its own genre of kind of the rape revenge movies. I know those existed beforehand, and obviously it was taken from the Virgin Spring movie by Ingmar Bergman. So yeah, that's basically the story of Last House on the Left. Follows these 4 criminals, 2 escaped, and they basically take these girls these innocent girls that are on their way to the concert, and they rape and mutilate and torture them, and they end up taking refuge at the parents' house of one of the girls, and the people get revenge. It has a lot of themes in there about people becoming monsters and becoming what you're scared of, and all sorts of things like this. But the movie made a big stir because the violence, it makes you feel bad, it makes you feel horrible, and like the Sean Cunningham, the producer who would go on to direct Friday the 13th, says him and Wes Craven went to see a Sergio Leone, Clint Eastwood Western, and the people were dropping like flies, and they said, man, this isn't right because nobody feels the violence. It's like really cartoonish. And like stuff would do like The Wild Bunch and Night of the Living Dead, you actually feel the violence. And I always saw this as like a stepping stone, one of the major stepping stones to modern horror. And I think that what really makes this movie work is, that it didn't pull any punches. There is some weird humor that's added in, but that's definitely a product of its time. Has this Keystone Cop routine that the more you see the movie, the less it bothers you, but when you first initially see it, it is very distracting and very out of place. And 2 things that really stand out for me involve David Hess, both of them. The music in the movie, The Road Leads to Nowhere and All You're Now You're By Yourself. Those musical numbers are so vastly powerful, and it has this weird folk thing to it, and it also weird, sadness to it, a very, very deep sadness to the music. I love, and David Hess himself, he did the music, of course, and he stars in it. And David Hess's performance, they said that he stayed in character on set, and you can tell David Hess is a very intimidating guy in this, and through the behind the stories and through the commentaries, you learn a lot about the process of this and how dangerous Wes Craven was on this set, about directing it, and how he didn't exactly know what he was doing. And one of the actors, Fred Lincoln, who plays Weasel, who came from the porn industry and worked on dozens and dozens of films, basically helps Craven direct this with, special effects and put the camera here and there. I also love that the movie, I've always loved kind of, rough around the edge movies, especially debuts, and I like that this is shot in the wilderness. And they said Wes was a great editor, and he basically cobbled this movie together fairly well. I like the wilderness. I like how the music's used. I like the sound design of the birds chirping. And they do this a couple times in the movie. They're playing the theme music, or The Road Leads to Nowhere, or And Now You're By Yourself, and it's getting a really emotional moment, and a gunshot will ring through, or a loud noise will come through, and the music will completely go silent, and all you hear is like birds chirping. And it puts you back into reality. It gets you in that emotion, and then it puts you back into reality and you're just there. And some people may see it and say this is way tamer than the stuff that came out later, like House on the Edge of the Park or I Spit on Your Grave, but it is the first, and some people will say just because it's the first, it's not the best, and it probably isn't the best, but it is the most important. And I think this movie is amazing, and I for what it did, and I always I like this movie quite a bit, although I know it has its problems. And it's just such an interesting movie, and what Wes Craven was trying to do with it, and how it provoked the audience into feeling bad and even feeling sympathy for the killers at a time, which Rob Zombie would do very well future with Devil's Rejects in the future and stuff like that. How it made people feel sick to their stomachs that at one point they humanized the killers. You know, they're horrible, but it feels so much more real that they're human at times, and it just makes it all that much sicker. In reality, this is not the feel-good movie. This is something that is very stark in its violence, and I appreciate that because I love fun movies. I love action movies. I love it all. But when you need to see something sometimes, and you need to be brought back to reality, that this violence isn't good. It's not good. It's bad. And Last House on the Left, it shows its violence for what it is. It shows that, and it's the typical revenge story, that how much of your humanity are you going to lose by getting this revenge? And I've always liked that. For the most part, the acting's really good, especially by the bad guys and the main girls. And through the stories and the special features and stuff, you learn that they went too far on here in their acting, especially David Hess. And there's interviews with David Hess on there. He's such an interesting guy. I always loved his performances. I always thought he was one of those actors, like one of the top 5 actors that I always just looked at him and I said, there is intensity in his eyes. There is something there. And when I see him, I see danger. I do. And I see some sort of aggression. And there's like Oliver Reed, I see it too. And that's why I'm always been drawn to these intense actors. I would even say to a certain extent somebody like Telly Savalas. There's like there's intensity in them, and there's some sort of dominance, or I don't want to necessarily say that. There's like a intimidation factor in those acting performances, and Hess does it well. All of them play their roles to a T, and there's so many memorable moments in this movie. Blow your brains out, piss your pants, the soundtrack, all that kind of stuff. There's so many memorable moments in here. I think it's a masterpiece. It's not a perfect movie, but it's so important. This release is damn great, and finally we get to see it on here. There's a cool video here about when they go to England on the second disc and they interview Gunnar Hansen and David Hess about and finally these movies are playing together in theaters and whatnot, and they're talking about censorship, and I really enjoyed hearing that too. David Hess was a very smart guy, and Wes Craven was a very smart guy. And you see a lot of early Wes Cravenisms, I guess I'll say, like the booby traps and all that kind of stuff. You can just tell where Wes Craven was coming from with Krug and Kruger. I'm repeating a lot of stuff that everybody knows and everybody's heard, but it's a great movie, and I think that this is the cherry on top of the releases. Finally, we get a nice U.S. release for Last House on the Left. It deserves it. There's 3 cuts, like I said. You can watch the major difference between Krug and Company cut and the director's cut is the scene where the girl, they find her alive, the parents. And I don't particularly like that scene. I'm kind of glad it's not in the director's cut, because I think the ADR on it is a little rough in parts. Yeah, but if you haven't seen Last House on the Left and you like kind of like the more thought-provoking or extreme horror movies, then this one is like a catalyst for a lot of them, and one of the most influential horror films ever made.
It rests on 13 acres of earth over the very center of hell. Here is the first motion picture to offer to the daring a look into the final, maddening space between life and death. The Last House on the Left. To avoid fainting, keep repeating. It's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Sights and sounds far beyond anything you've tested. The Last House on the Left. To avoid fainting, keep repeating. It's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Take as much as you can. Only a movie.
Okay, the next one here is from MVD Rewind Collection. This is Lionheart. You know what? I grew up watching Lionheart. I grew up watching a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and Lionheart was probably like the most underrated. This was, I believe, after Bloodsport. I've always liked Bloodsport in this one. Lionheart, you know, this is like the quintessential Van Damme, like running and people are chasing him, and he enters this, like, he fights to make money or a tournament. Yeah, this is the director's cut, Leon, which I have never actually seen the director's cut of it. It's about 10 minutes longer. This is a movie that it is R-rated, but it has a good family message in it, even though there's lots of fighting and language and whatnot. But it feels more like a kid's movie to me, probably because I grew up watching it. But it has some decent genre actors in here, or not genre, but just like character actors, like Brian Thompson is in here, which is really great to see. And also the guy who plays the bookie. Basically, Jean-Claude Van Damme is a Legionnaire. His brother is badly hurt, and his family is hurting, so he escapes and runs to America to try to bring them money and bring them comfort, and he ends up in this underground fighting ring making tons of money and trying to, you know, save his family from a life of being in debt. And that's basically the plot of the movie. Along the way, he meets this bookie, and this bookie and him form this weird friendship, and they have, like, the bookie obviously has a sordid past and where he was a fighter, and they get hooked up with this lady who books fights, yada, yada, yada. That's basically the plot, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme goes through fighting a bunch of crazy, wild array of different kind of fighting styles in cheesy fashion. It's a lot of fun, and although at times it's cornball, at the end of the movie, it does pack an emotional punch, and you're into it. That's what I can say about Lionheart. They did a great job with this release. There's a director's cut, theatrical cut. There's a commentary on here. There's interviews with the director and the lead actor. They even got Van Damme on here. They got everybody. Brian Thompson, Van Damme. I can't think of the African-American guy, his actor, but he was so good in this movie. I've seen him pop up in other things, and you don't register who he is until you look up his movies and you're like, oh, that guy's so good, you don't he's just that character. In this movie, he was so good that when I turned on the features to listen to him talk, and he had a completely different voice, a completely different demeanor, I was like, man, that guy is such a good actor. I expected him half to be that character. And to me, that was just, like, perfect. I usually don't do that, you know, like, when a person puts on a fake voice or a fake character, you're like, oh, that sounds like they're just putting on, but it really felt legit here. And his character has the best arc in the movie. Like I said, the relationship between Jean-Claude Van Damme and his manager is actually really strong. And Jean-Claude Van Damme, although not the best actor at this time, he does hold his own quite a bit with him, and it's not horrible. The fight scenes are fun, and they're plentiful, and Van Damme actually gets hit, unlike some guys, Steven Seagal. But it's a fun movie, but it's also a good messaged movie, and this one's loaded with features. Like I said, there's 2 cuts of the movie on here. There's a commentary. There's interviews with tons of people on here, long ones too. Like, and it's all cut up, so you have different things in here. There's talking about the different fighting styles and how they picked people to be in the movie. I really enjoyed hearing a lot of that and the backstory on there. And the director, you know, he's worked with Jean-Claude Van Damme before, and he worked with him since. And yeah, this is a great collaboration. And I think that if you like Jean-Claude Van Damme, or if you haven't seen a lot of the martial arts movies from this time frame, late 80s, early 90s, I would recommend checking this one out. This is one of the better, more fun ones for sure. And this is one of Jean-Claude's top 3 movies, top 5 movies for sure, you know, along with stuff like Universal Soldier, Hard Target, Bloodsport, and this one, I've always had a soft spot for those movies, and I always enjoyed them. And this one, it gets such a great release, it kind of blows my mind. But Lionheart, man, it's a lot of fun. I think that if you have young, like, you know, 12, 13-year-old kids, I think it would be a great one to watch with them. You know, it is violent. It does have the language and some sexuality, but it does have that, like, that core of, you know, the martial arts core and also the family, you know, dynamic in there. I think it's, and the director says all this kind of stuff. They went out there and they make this, but they wanted to incorporate those things as well. And it makes a movie better. It's not just all the action. And it really works with this one. You know, it is corny and cheeseball at times, but you gotta be kind of to get that the like tugging on your heartstrings at the end. But that's Lionheart. Nice release from MVD Rewind Collection.
They think they can get away with murder.
This is gasoline.
But they didn't count on one thing.
Does he have any other relatives? Anyone else that could possibly help?
You gave up your family when you joined the Legion.
I never give up my family. He's trained to fight for his life. Now, he's fighting for revenge.
Just tell her Joshua's here with somebody I think she'd like to meet.
Sure you want to mess up that face, handsome?
Lionheart! King of the jungle!
They think it's a game.
Hey, I got 3-1 against Lionheart.
He's playing for keeps. But now, he's facing the ultimate challenge.
That's him, a born killer, not some bum we picked off the street. Well, this dude's already bad, they ain't bodies.
Beat the guy, I have to.
The rules are simple.
There's no rules.
The stakes are high.
What I did tonight, I did for my family.
You win. You live.
Now what's it gonna be?
You lose. You die.
It's going to be simple.
Van Damme is Lionheart.
Okay, the next one, guys, is the VHS Voyage. This one, here's the bootleg. This is the Rejuvenator. I haven't seen this in years. This is like 88, 89. And here's the VHS from Sony. Yeah, that's a Sony tape. This tape is beat to crap. I don't remember when I got this one, but it's been a long time. But the Rejuvenator, you know, this one always, when I was young, was compared to like, it's like a Reanimator light. But it does have some Lovecraftian vibes, but it mostly feels like kind of like a Tales from the Crypt episode, but an hour and a half long. It's about this doctor who's doing these experiments to kind of reverse the aging process. We've seen that kind of stuff before. He's basically being paid by this this old actress who's afraid to get old. She doesn't want to be old. She wants to be young forever. She's pressuring him into developing this serum quicker and faster and quicker. But of course, they need dead bodies. The Frankenstein story. They need dead bodies. They need something in the brain to, you know, synthesize this serum. So that's basically what happens here. They go through with the procedure way before they should because he's getting pressured by another doctor that doesn't like him to get out of there, and he's getting pressured by this woman to go for. And he's also impatient. He's not a particularly good person at all. He is way more into science than human life and, you know, his own fame. And not failing is really what he doesn't want to do. He has a doctor that helps him out. There's this strange love relationship with them. There's a love relationship between him and the actress. And of course, it seems to work at first when he gives the lady the serum. She's beautiful. But of course, there's side effects. And you see the side effects beforehand through this rat that turns into this crazy monster. So you get that thing going on. What the highlight of this movie is the special effects. It will always be the special effects. And I love the core of people being afraid to get old. It's a thing that most people are. It always works. And it's one of those things that it's a just desserts kind of deal. Like, it's a very Tales from the Crypt thing to happen. Okay, there is actually an episode like that where it reverses the aging process, but I don't want to spoil that episode and talk about it because it has nothing to do with this movie. But it's very Tales from the Crypt. So, of course, she starts to get an appetite. She wants more serum because she starts to kind of turn into this older, grosser, and she starts even like turning into this monster with horns. Reminds me of something from like The Unnameable. So that's what happens. And of course, she starts to go after brains herself. And it's up to the doctor to try to stop her. That's the plot of the movie. It does take a little time to get started, but the end, you know, the last half an hour is pretty crazy. There's some crazy deaths in here. Not overly gory, but there is some really nasty gore in here. Not nasty gore, but I would say nasty transformation special effects is where it comes into. And there is a melt scene. Of course, you got to have a melt scene in one of these movies. But all in all, it's a standard, above average, standard science gone wrong horror movie with plenty of gooey effects and, you know, pretty fun performance, especially by the actress when she's older. And it's cool that the actress who's in the makeup is the same actress when she's out of the makeup. So I like that. I think that the performances are solid. I think that the actress is a little above the rest. And there's some cheesy things that happen in here, but I think it's well worth checking out, especially if you like late 80s like kind of monster movies or science gone wrong movies. It's a solid movie, and it's underrated probably because not many people have talked about it. I'm looking like right at that like slightly above average, but well worth your time checking out. I think it's fun. I think the special effects are cool. I like the premise, although it does a little slow to get started. This probably would have been better as a half-an-hour Tales from the Crypt episode. But if you haven't seen The Rejuvenator, a lot of people compare it to like Reanimator. It's less sexualized than the Stuart Gordon kind of H.P. Lovecraft deal, although it is Lovecraftian, only in that aspect that the science is crazy and weird, and it takes you to this weird like parallel thing. But it does feel like Gordon-esque too, because we have like because Stuart Gordon and Lovecraft, although everybody like compares them together in movies. You know, Gordon's stuff is way more sexualized than Lovecraft stuff would ever be, and this one, you know, is kind of like somewhere not as sexualized as Gordon's, but a little Lovecraftian at the same time. So it's like a little bit like both of them again. But yeah, I would check out The Rejuvenator. It's fun, and I like the concept. It's pretty cool stuff.
Oh, wow, what a rush. Great stuff. What is this anyway? Some designer drug. So anyway, we were out on the dance floor and he starts gyrating all over me. I got so embarrassed. So I said, look, you know, I'm going to go get a drink. So he flips me a 20. He said, get me one too. So he gave me the 20 and I ditched him. But he had this, right? Steve and I are in the limousine. And he pulls out this box. He's going to ask you a question. Pulls out this diamond. The diamond's so big I couldn't even see it. I mean, they needed a microscope. You know, as soon as a club gets hot, they let in the Georgian Tunnel crowd. Way beyond the neon light, like a secret passion. A little thing can turn it back, become forever. And the feeling being
Okay, the pick of the movie this week was by, who is it, Christopher Dalliere, and he wanted me to review Sling Blade. Now, this is the theatrical cut. I've seen Sling Blade dozens of times. It's been a while, though, since I watched it. Last time I watched the director's cut, which is about 10 to 12 minutes longer than the theatrical cut. I'm going over this a little bit. Sling Blade is made in 1996. I believe it won 2 Academy Award-winning nominations, it says. Winner, Best Writing. And it is really good. If you guys know, this is Billy Bob Thornton's big breakthrough, kind of after One False Move. This is the one that put him in his, like, the place. And he wanted to star in this movie, so he wrote his own role because he wasn't getting any good roles, similar to Stallone did for Rocky. But this follows the story of this, I believe he has maybe, like, Alzheimer's or some sort of mild mental retardation. And he's in an institution. Very in the beginning, you realize he killed some people, but it was very strange circumstances, very weird circumstances, and you are sympathetic towards him. He's released because his time's up. He befriends this small boy, and he basically falls in love with this small boy in a non-sexual way, like a father-son relationship, big brother thing. And his mother, he cares for her. They have this awful boy. She has this awful boyfriend played by Dwight Yoakam. The country singer, but he's tremendous in this movie. And there's obviously some turmoil and whatnot. What makes Sling Blade so good is that there's comedy elements to it just by the characters, how they walk and talk and go around and about their business, but it's realistic, and there's a lot of comedy in life and a lot of strange characters. The way Billy Bob delivers his lines here, is it inevitable to do a Sling Blade review without talking about and doing an impression of Billy Bob Thornton? Sure do like them fried taters. Everybody says it. Everybody's seen this movie. Everybody that's ever heard of this movie said that a million times. But his performance is so unique and so one of a kind. And Billy Bob called in a lot of favors for this movie. So he calls in a lot of like actors that are like good actors too. Like Robert Duvall's in here. J.T. Walsh is in here. John Ritter's in here. And a great performance too, surprisingly. You know, because John Ritter was always like kind of thrown into those comedy roles. And he does a really good performance in here. Not saying he's not a good actor. It's just less of a comedic role here. Even though he is comedic, but it's more serious, and it's a good role. To be honest, this movie opens and closes in an asylum without spoiling too much, and there's a character in there played by J.T. Walsh. He has got to be one of the best portrayals of a psychopath or a maniac I've ever seen, just a sociopath all through and through. I'm not sure. He's just so intense and so creepy, and his performance is so great. And it's just, he's like Billy Bob in the comment and like the interviews and stuff would say, like, he's just totally underrated actor, and he is. And, you know, it's just watching the commentary, listen to like the behind the scenes and the making of, and learn a little bit about Billy Bob Thornton in this on this disc, because there's a lot of features on here. You learn why he made this, and you understand that he's like outside the Hollywood system and whatnot, and he just wanted to make a movie that portrayed the South, you know, not necessarily as completely stereotypical, but you know, like it has this Southern charm about it, and it's a great movie. To be honest, it's a one-of-a-kind movie. The performances are great. The writing's great. The score is wonderful. It's a beautiful score, and it just fits the movie so perfect. And it's one of those ones that's super emotional. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, the theatrical cut, and it flies by. And all the performances are great, especially by a little kid and the mother. Like, top-notch acting, top-notch writing. And the movie is actually filmed like a play. Like, so much of this stuff feels like a play. Like, it's a wide or a medium shot on two people, and the camera moves very minimally, and they carry out 8 to 10 minute scenes. I don't know if this was done for a low budget, or he wanted it to have more on the performances without cutting away, because the dynamic in this is like Billy Bob acting alongside somebody. You see them both in the frame and not just cutting up to close-ups. There are close-ups here and there, but that way you kind of see the body movements and stuff like that. Everybody's in frame. There's just a lot of like medium shots or like back shots, not close-ups in here, which I noticed was kind of strange. It feels like a play, and it works perfect for the movie. It's very engaging. Like, the score, like I said, it's beautiful. There's these, it can be a little disturbing, and it is very, very sad at times. Such a sad movie, and you feel really, really horrible for Carl, who's, you know, Billy Bob's character in this movie. And I remember me and my family watched this movie a few times when it came out. We loved it. We felt really, you know, I guess we thought it was funny. We repeated a lot of it, but we were attached to the character. We loved the character. And anybody in my family, if you would mention, you know, anything that Billy Bob or Sling Blade, we love this movie. And, you know, thinking of 1996, this was released by Miramax, and I think that From Dusk Till Dawn came around at the same time too. There was a lot of like indie movies or mid-tier indie movies getting released like that were really good. And yeah, but it's just an amazing performance. If anybody hasn't like seen a Billy Bob Thornton movie or anything, or doesn't know who he is, just knows him from Bad Santa, you should really check out Sling Blade. He directed and wrote this movie too, on top of that, which is very impressive. You know, I hadn't seen any of his other movies, and I you know, maybe it'd be cool to see him do another movie, to be honest. I know that his other movies don't have as much critical acclaim as Sling Blade, but it's just a very, very well made, well directed, well acted, well written movie. Mostly well written perfectly, but you know, it's one of those iconic characters that you'll never forget, and it's a great movie. It's pretty perfect to me. I don't have any complaints about it. And I don't remember the director's cut 100%. I have it on DVD, and if you want to get the director's cut, you have to import on Blu-ray. You have to import the UK Blu-ray. That they have it in the director's cut, but we only have the theatrical cut on Blu-ray. But regardless, Sling Blade, it's a great movie, and you guys should check it out for sure.
In a few minutes, we're going to be in a room with a killer.
What you want to know is what I'm doing in here. I killed some folks quite a while back. They told me I'm well from it now.
Why are you letting him out?
He's free. His time's up. That's the rules.
After 25 years, Carl Childers is coming back to his hometown.
Carl, see if you can figure out what's wrong with this thing. It won't crank up and everything seems to be put together, right?
It ain't got no gas in it.
Finding a friendship he never had.
My name's Frank Wheatley. What's your name?
Carl's my name.
Who's that strange-looking man behind you?
That's Carl. I met him at the laundromat.
Nice to meet you, Carl.
And a family he has always wanted.
Mama said you can stay over with us. I like the way you talk.
Well, I like the way you talk.
Just how retarded are you?
Stop it, though. Mama has a boyfriend. He threatened to kill her if she ever left him.
And you're gonna learn to live by my rules.
Doyle is a monster.
But when the darkness comes back into his life,
He's mean to you and your mama.
he's forced to make a decision he hasn't had to make in 25 years.
I'm gonna kill you deader than a doornail.
starring Dwight Yoakam, John Ritter, J.T. Walsh. Written, directed, and starring Billy Bob Thornton.
Will you ever kill anybody again, Carl?
I don't reckon I got no reason to kill nobody.
Sling Blade.
Okay, guys. John Wilhelm won last time, and he picked Blade of the Immortal by Takashi Miike. Let's see who's going to win this time. If you want to get entered in the Pick-a-Movie, just leave your name on the YouTube or Screaming Toilet or Facebook message me or something, and I'll add you in. And you'll stay in until you're drawn, which and then if you want to be re-entered, you'll have to enter again. But you'll stay in the bag until you're drawn out, so you get your movie eventually. Who do we got here? We have K.B. Bunham. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly who that is, but I think it was probably a YouTube name. So you won. Let me know what you want me to review. Whatever, as long as I haven't reviewed it in these past 58 weeks or whatnot, and I can get a hold of it. All right, let's hop into the Q&A. Peter McCain, what are some of your favorite limited edition releases? I thought the Hellraiser limited edition was pretty cool, although I wasn't too fond of the box because it was a little flimsy, but I'm trying to think of the Dawn of the Dead old school release was really great. The 4-disc one, I love that release back in the day. Trying to think of some other limited edition releases that I got a lot of use out of. I love the Nightbreed limited edition because it came with the regular cut, which I actually like better than the Cabal cut or the director's cut. Any of the cuts. I prefer the theatrical. So that's a couple I just threw out there that are off the top of my head. Nick, why do you believe that Native American heritage has become such a horror movie trope? I mean, I guess it's a revenge story for that idea. There's like a spiritualism, supernatural element to like a lot of the stuff where they can incorporate their like spiritualism in there and incorporate a horror movie like revenge things and whatnot, I think. And all religions and religion is incorporated very much into horror, no matter what it is. But I also believe because it's such a sore spot in American history, to be honest. And they don't want people to forget it, I guess. I don't know. It's just such a sore spot. So much barbaric stuff happened to the Native Americans in American history. So there's that. Would you rather live forever through the movies you made, starred in, or achieve actual immortality? I don't think I'll ever live in the movies forever. But start in actual... I wouldn't want to live forever. You know, when I was younger, I'd said I want to live forever. I would want to live forever if I could share it with somebody that I loved forever. If they would live forever and we would stay the same, that would be perfect. But to be honest, you know, the older you get, the more you watch people that you care about die. So what makes life worth living is being with the people that you love and doing the things you love. And a lot of doing the things you love is with the people you love, you know, as you get attachment to certain people. And if you live forever and they die, it's not going to be worth it. Because, you know, as much as you love somebody and you don't ever forget them, but things, when they're not around, feelings fade a little bit, and I just can't imagine living forever. And, you know, maybe somebody that you adored 300, 400 years ago, you remember them, and there's that empty void in there. There's always a emptiness when you lose somebody you love, and if you live forever, you're going to have a whole lot of emptiness, if that makes sense. So, I mean, if I could share it with somebody, I would do it, but I wouldn't want to live forever if I was going to be the only one living forever. Say you have to portray a real-life killer. If possible, would you want to talk to him? In jail, of course, to better your performance. Geez, that's tough. It depends who they were. But I would definitely want to get the real-life portrayal for as best as I could. But there's, you know, there's who they say they are. There's who, you know what I mean? There's so many ways to look at it. Like, they could tell you stories and they could talk to you and manipulate you to a certain way. But I definitely would want to see tapes with them and how they talk to people and how they interact with people, to be honest. And maybe at a distance so I could, you know, interpret that stuff myself. Or just see them interact with people. Maybe not interact with them myself. But it depends who it was and what their crimes were and all the circumstances like that. Derek Davis, I need to check out... All right, what is a... Along the note, what would be some good killer animal movies to watch that may be less known? I've seen Jaws, Lake Placid, and some of the more well-known ones. Looking for something more obscure. Oh, I mean, I don't know how obscure you want to go, but Deadly Eyes is a great one. Killer rat movie. Gnaw, Food of the Gods 2 is another great killer rats movie. Alligator is a must. You gotta see Alligator. That's my favorite. And if you like Jaws, I would check out some of the Italian Jaws ripoffs, like The Great Shark. The one by Ennio Castorelli, it probably goes by 10 different names. That one's really good. And Killer Crocodile 1 and 2 are really good. Those are Italian ones. I know that Monster Shark, aka Devilfish, is getting a Code Red Blu-ray. That one's goofy, but it has its fun moments. That's by Limberto Bava. I'm trying to think of other great animal attacks movies. Piranha, of course, but I don't want to recommend any that are really truly bad. But I like the the Great Shark or the Great White Shark. The one by Ennio Castorelli is fun. I love Alligator. You got to see Alligator. If you see one, see Alligator. If you haven't seen that one, and one of Slugs is always fun. That one's a blast. So yeah, hopefully that's good enough. Christopher Dalliere, favorite low budget creature feature, Deadly Spawn. I think I named that one. Does that count as low budget? Favorite Bigfoot film? It's either going to be Abominable, but that's an Abominable Snowman, or Night of the Demon. The Video Nasty. I always kind of like that one. Not to be confused with Curse of the Demon. Night of the Demon. Not to be confused with Night of the Demons. Night of the Demons is what it's called. But yeah, I think that was a Code Red release on DVD. But let's hop into the update. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's see what we got. Okay, guys, let's hop into this. This is a pretty big update. I got my first Kino order from their big sale. There should be like 3 orders coming, so probably in like the next few weeks you'll see them. This one I actually got a little before. I got this from the Hamilton Books sale. This is like $10 Blu-ray. This was Scalphunters with Burt Lancaster, Telly Savalas, Ossie Davis, Shelley Winters. Nice cast, Western. Checking it out. Love Telly Savalas. Then we got another Western from the Kino sale here. We got Sam Whiskey with Burt Reynolds. Yeah, not seen this one. Look forward to checking that out. Then we have this one, Viva Maria. I've not seen this one at all. I've not heard really much about it, but another Western. I figured I'd check it out. Kino, man, they killed it. They were like $8 all the way up to like $12, so great prices on them. Then we have Whoever Slew, Auntie Roo. I love that title. I guess there's like a trilogy of these inspired by Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which is a great movie. This has Shelley Winters in it. I think the other one's Whatever Happened to Aunt Alice and Whatever Happened to Aunt Helen. I get them confused. There's like 3 of them. So I know Scream just released one, and one's supposed to get another release from Kino, the one that's out of print on DVD. We have Zone Troopers, which I saw as a kid. I knew it had Tim Thomerson in it, and Art LaFleur is in this. It's been years since I watched this one. There's one of the Van Pattens is in it too. So, yeah. Then we got Running Scared with Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines. So, yeah. Check that out. Not seen that one. We got Needful Things. I heard this is the theatrical cut, not the director's cut. I'm not 100% on that. It's been years since I watched this one. This is one of what I know that Ed Harris is in it, and Max von Sydow. Loved this movie as a kid. It's been years. My mom always liked it too. And this is what, the 3rd or 4th Stephen King adaptation, or 3rd that Ed Harris was involved with, along with Creepshow and The Stand. The Missouri Breaks with Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson. Yeah, another Western. As you guys can tell, I kind of like the Kino Westerns, so I grabbed a lot of ones I didn't have. We got Malone with Burt Reynolds. I saw it on the trailer for Man on Fire, and I was like, you know, that looks like it's kind of awesome. I'm going to grab it. It's got Burt in it. Can't be that bad. Hero and the Tear with Chuck Norris. Not a big Chuck Norris fan, but I hear this is more of like a slasher-style deal, and this is probably produced by Canon, so it will be batshit crazy. So, yeah, I'm willing to give some Chuck Norris some chances here. Heart of Midnight. I heard this is a crazy, crazy movie. Jennifer Jason Leigh. I heard nothing but cool things about it. It's supposed to be bizarre. So, yeah, I'm going to check that one out. FX2. I got FX1 a little while ago. I don't know if I've seen the second one, but I remember liking the first one. It's been years since I watched either of them, if I ever did watch the second one. But I know I watched the first one. Brian Dennehy, Brian Brown. Cool stuff. Eye for an Eye. This is another Chuck Norris. I think the only one I didn't grab was Delta Force 2, because I don't even have Delta Force 1. I do, actually, but not the Scream. But, yeah, Eye for an Eye, Chuck Norris. We got Company Business with Gene Hackman. I mean, that's such a cool cover. Looks like an action movie. Like Gene Hackman. Underrated actor. Gotta check that out. This one's a Robert Altman, Paul Newman. Buffalo Bill and the Indians or Sitting Bull's History Lesson. It's a Robert Altman movie, so yeah. Another Western with Paul Newman. So I grabbed that right when I saw it. We got Blown Away. Have not seen this movie literally since it came out with Tommy Lee Jones and Jeff Bridges. Also, who is it? Forrest Whitaker I remember being in this one. I think this is the first movie I remember Forrest Whitaker being in as a kid. The Passage. Anthony Quinn, Malcolm McDowell, Christopher Lee. Yeah, another Kino buy. I love Kino, by the way, if you guys haven't realized that. At least a lot of cool catalog titles. Now the Kinos are over, we have Tesis. Heard about this a lot, but I never really wanted to grab it until I heard about it and make the top 10 list on everybody's in the 22 shots of Moods and Horror from 1996. So I grabbed this. It was not cheap, so it took me so long before I finally bit the bullet on it. But yeah, it's supposed to be a pretty cool Spanish flick. Game Night. This was on sale. Not seen this one yet. My buddy Jeremiah recommended this one, and I saw it for $10. That was the right price. Jason Bateman. It's supposed to be a comedy, I believe. Dark comedy. Network. I've wanted to see Network for a very, very long time. William Holden, Robert Duvall, Faye Dunaway. Come on. It's supposed to be a classic movie, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. In the Heat of the Night with Cindy Pontier. I haven't seen this movie since high school, to be honest. Red Steiger, Warren Oates. Yeah. I'm sure it's good. I mean, I remember it being good, but it's been for years. From Scorpion, Human Experiments. This is one of the best trailers ever. This actually made the Video Nasties list. Has Jeffrey Lewis in it. Not seen it. Been waiting for the Blu-ray for like 5 years. Can't wait to watch this one. I love the trailer on this one. Someone is performing Human Experiments. Great trailer. But yeah, I almost bit the DVD, but I waited. We have some Vinegar Syndrome titles here from their sale. Blood Theater. Not seen this one. It says by the director of Hobgoblins, Rick Sloan. So, hey, there's that. Grave Robbers. I have a sneaky suspicion this one's going to be popping up in the next week's show for review. But that's just a suspicion. Yeah, 88. Weird horror movie. We have Deadly Daphne's Revenge, a.k.a. Hunting Season. Both titles completely inappropriate. This is the Troma one. Distributed by Troma. Pets. Another Vinegar Syndrome one, yeah. If you haven't noticed, I pretty much love Vinegar Syndrome as well. Deadly Daphne's Revenge and Pets were limited. Now we're going to hop into the DVDs. We have one here. I think I need to go a little wider, so sorry. Bear Island. Not seen this. Hear good things from Pure Cinema Podcast. This is a DVD import from UK. Donald Sutherland, Vanessa Redgrave, Christopher Lee. Come on. Lloyd Bridges? That's such a weird, bizarre cast. Had to check it out. Then we got this one, Augusta Villaronga. I'm terrible with names. This is the director of Moonchild and In a Glass Cage and Black Bread. This is 4 of his movies. Sorry about this. In a Glass Cage is on here, but I bought it for 2 movies. El Pasajero Clandestino is not the one, but El Mar. And the one on the bottom, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, El Tolbukhin. Regardless, you'll get a good look at those. They're very Spanish titles. But, yeah, the one I really am interested in checking out is the serial killer movie he did called Tolbukhin. I'm not going to embarrass myself that bad. But, yeah, this director is very unique and very different. And I didn't love Moonchild, but I really loved In a Glass Cage when I saw it. And I had good feelings about Black Bread, but I'm really interested about how to see how this guy would tackle a serial killer movie. This is a nice little box set, 4 titles on there. So yeah, I don't think any of the ones, I know Glass Cage has a Blu-ray, but that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the update, and next week there'll be even, not as much, but there'll be quite a bit too. Take care. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching, and as always, you guys have a good one. Until next time.